Happy 100k Bitcoin day. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the All-In Crypto Show. This is going to be another jam-packed daily market update. And as Bitcoin has reached such a monumental landmark of getting over 100k for the first time ever, we're going to be predominantly focusing on it. Remember, Bitcoin is still that tide that rises and sinks all ships. In the future, we are going to see Bitcoin's dominance, though, in my opinion, diminished to around about 25% of the overall space. Today, it currently sits in the high 50s. We did have a target for Bitcoin dominance that took it to 61.5 that we found with the benefit of hindsight, which we should have been looking at all along. But we are going to be getting straight into it, guys. Let's just go for it with the price of Bitcoin is where we're going to start. We did have that small pattern setting up. We'll go to a 4-hourly that we did say was likely going to see a break for Bitcoin and the run of 100k. I actually thought it would come tomorrow on the back end of non-farm payroll. I thought we might get some news surrounding that. However, Christmas has came early. So by all accounts, well done to Bitcoin. Well done to this industry as a whole. Many people said this was never going to happen, like Peter Schiff. And actually, this is back in 2009. Keep dreaming. Bitcoin is never going to hit 100k. Today, 100k. If you're not already following me on Twitter, guys, do go over to @RealAllinCrypto and make sure it's the right account. And go and give me a follow. We're releasing lots of stuff on there as well to really kind of try and educate as many people on as many platforms as humanly possible about what is currently taking place. And it's my absolute opinion that the star of the show in regards to this digital transformation isn't Bitcoin, although it's a big part of it. It's going to actually be some of these layer ones that are going to enable the traditional financial system to rejuvenate and sort of change, if you will. And I think, we're very much looking at that. So let's continue and let's go back to Bitcoin because we've got some really interesting things for you today. We're going to be looking at what Jerome Powell had to say about Bitcoin because it gives the game away. Bitcoin is no threat to the US dollar. If it was, the likes of Trump wouldn't be supporting it in the manner that he is, regardless of how popular it would make him, and the likes of your large financial institutions wouldn't be backing it. On the topic of those large financial institutions, Bitcoin's Bitcoin ETF has now hit over $50 billion in assets. That's more than, by the way, BlackRock has in their gold, or BlackRock has more in their Bitcoin ETF, their IBIT, than they do their gold iShares ETF. The fastest to reach 50 billion in just 228 days. It was only this year it went live. And of course, 1,329 days was the second fastest to hit a billion. Bitcoin is the best performing and most successful ETF of all time, and is largely going to find itself, and we're going to look at a clip from Jerome Powell in just a second, as a staple part of any asset manager's portfolio. And that is still all to come. That's the bullish case for Bitcoin looking into the future. You guys absolutely all know the drill when it comes to Bitcoin from a technical point of view. And just like when we were looking at this bull flag and we were trying to keep people as grounded, and as many people have sort of joined the space, obviously, after all of this price movement, we're in right at the start. I mean, this is when I got back into the cryptocurrency space, and that's all public. And we're still in a very clear, broad, pronounced, strong uptrend. And continuation of that is going to happen. And Bitcoin is that tide, looking at the total cryptocurrency market cap, that rises and sinks all ships. I think we've got very close to making our target, short-term target on the total 2. Total 3 has absolutely smashed through its target. Short-term target, anyway, there's a broader target, and we've got settings up on others. You know, we've done the drill and we continue to do it. But Bitcoin now at over 100k, I think you're going to see potentially more than a 3x on the back end of it. And as a cryptocurrency investor, to me, the law, if you're getting into the space right now, do become a subscriber to the channel. Also, if you want to take your journey a step further, become a Patreon. Go and watch last night's meeting that we do live. We do a live meeting every Wednesday and every Sunday where I talk about my portfolio. It's exclusive for the Patreons. You'll unlock my portfolio and see what I'm buying at the moment. We've got some really good miners that we're looking at, or a miner in particular that we're looking at, and also some altcoins that we still think offer insane returns that one of them I've never heard anybody talk about other than myself. So Bitcoin, star of the show, that small continuation pattern very much set up. You've got over 100k Bitcoin now. I did think it was going to come Friday, and you've got all these fundamentally amazing and wonderful things taking place. What we're going to do now, guys, is we're going to dive over to a clip of Jerome Powell that was on a talk show yesterday, actually talking about Bitcoin and what he views it as, because it's very interesting and it gives the game away, in my opinion. And he talks about it being a competitor to gold. We're then going to compare Bitcoin's market cap today with gold's market cap and show you just how much room there is to grow. And actually, I have done something. I'm not doing it publicly yet, but I've hinted at it. And why looking at Bitcoin dominance is so important is if we can try and work out technically where we think Bitcoin dominance is going, where the price of Bitcoin is going, we can work out a market cap for it. Then if we look at where Bitcoin dominance is going, we can ultimately work out, and I haven't seen anybody else do this on YouTube yet, where we think the altcoin sector as a market is going. And I honestly believe we're likely going to see a $6-7 trillion altcoin market. And I can derive all that technically. It's beyond the scope of this video, but we will look to do it for sure in a video, I'm sure, at some point publicly. But let's dive into this clip. This is Jerome Powell now talking about how he views Bitcoin. And it really gives the game away. So I'm going to go ahead and mute my mic, and we're going to get into this clip.
War in the Federal Reserve itself, in terms of the system. What do you think of that idea?
I don't think that's how people think about it. I mean, it's so, people use Bitcoin as a speculative asset, right? It's like gold. It's just like gold, only it's virtual. It's digital. People are not using it as a form of payment or as a store of value. It's highly volatile. It's not a competitor for the dollar. It's really a competitor for gold. That's really how I think of it.
Dollar war.
And Bitcoin, in my opinion, is absolutely, even though its initial vision, Satoshi's initial vision was for it to be an e-cash, an electronic version of cash, essentially ran and maintained by CPUs. When the decision to not scale Bitcoin as a layer one was taken by some developers, that basically ensured that Bitcoin would never scale to actually be practically implemented as a cash. Even though I personally believe that Bitcoin's layer one was always intended to scale, because you've got to think Satoshi was that much of a genius, whoever he, she, they were, or whatever three-letter agency it was. Did he really design a system that was never actually going to be able to practically see any kind of real-world implication? So we absolutely know that Bitcoin is no threat to the US dollar. Trump is one of the biggest advocates for... I'm actually following the president. I am now. Trump is one of the biggest advocates for the US dollar and actually for Bitcoin. And it seems contradictory, but it's actually not. And there's a bigger and a greater game at hand here in regards to getting everybody onto this sort of one world global financial system that actually Bitcoin might be a part of as a kind of digital store of value, but the actual rails and money of that system is not Bitcoin. It's likely the fiat system's just on the rails of blockchains. So we've moved very far from Satoshi's vision into a new kind of world. It's very ironic that this industry spawned out of combating the financial systems, yet really what it's going to do is enhance them. Obviously, we looked at Trump's declaring sort of war on the BRICS nations, saying, just the opening statement we'll read, the idea that the BRICS countries are trying to move away from the dollar while we stand by and watch is over. That's a really bad Trump impression. I can do a better China one. You can see their sort of zeal here. And ultimately, the interesting thing what Jerome Powell said, and I'm going to make this a different color because it's not very easy for everyone to see, is that it's a competitor to gold. And let's make this nice and thick, as thick as it will be. Gold's market cap today, and I actually didn't realize this, stands at $19.5 trillion. It's gone up massively, and obviously gold had a run. We were long gold and looking at gold from the sort of sub-2000s. That's made our targets resting in and around there. Bitcoin's market cap today is $2 trillion. So gold's market cap is nearly 10x the time of Bitcoin's. There's a lot of room to grow here. Certainly, technically, we've got targets that see Bitcoin grow from a price point of view and ultimately its market cap. But we have, and this is the great opportunity, a changing world at hand here. In what is in the old world, we could almost look at it, the non-digital world, what was a store of value, and what now potentially is. And people say, oh, well, Bitcoin's not backed by anything. The best, or one of the best sayings to describe Bitcoin is beauty is in the eye of the beholder. As long as that emperor realizes that he's got, or thinks he's got clothes on, he's got clothes on. It's when, reality hits, and whether that reality will ever hit, you could say that Bitcoin is backed by the electricity that's used to mine it, etc. There's a million, or all the hardware that's used. There's a million and one, and I don't quite know how we work that out, but there's a million and one ways people try and justify Bitcoin having intrinsic value. I think it's more a game of belief than anything. And actually gold, if you look at gold, there's a belief that gold is valuable. Yes, it has a practical application, but anyway, we're getting way off topic, but there's a hell of a lot of room for Bitcoin to grow. And it's very interesting because Jerome Powell, Donald Trump, they're telling you the game here. The game is not Bitcoin replaces the dollar. The game is actually Bitcoin becomes a store of value that's globally going to disrupt individuals. And actually what they're going to do, and countries, and I think South Korea and what happened yesterday, there was an element of that. I think the South Korean one's going to collapse, by the way, against the dollar. And I think what we're going to see is Brent Johnson's dollar milkshake theory play out in the same way that the Bitcoin theory is playing out. But the dollar is going to be that store of value, ironically, that's going to be digitally enabled globally. That's it from me, guys. We're going to love and leave you on that cliffhanger. I am going to see you all in the next one, hopefully. Don't forget to check out that subscribe button. Like and a comment is always appreciated. I'll see you in the next one. That's the news for today, guys. See you soon.